On behalf of Sierra Romero, my name is Darren Sutton, and this is Perfect Game Softball, this unique show on Perfect Game TV. And we've got a show for you. Pat Murphy is a head coach at Alabama. This is a program that each and every year is headed to the Women's College World Series. As a matter of fact, on his resume, 13 times the 2012 national champion. I also want to go back to his days as a high school baseball coach in Iowa a long, long time ago. And Kelly Inouye-Perez, speaking of the World Series, since 2019, you tell me if there's a better team than UCLA. We'll talk with Coach. We'll go to Westwood. Two great conversations. It's Alabama. It's UCLA. No need for me to talk anymore. Let's get it going. Perfect Game Softball on Perfect Game TV. Well, conversations like these are fun. They're special. This show with two great programs. We're excited to get it going. And let's start at UCLA with Coach I, Kelly Inouye-Perez, who joins us now and spends time talking about her program and looking ahead to the 22-23 season. Coach, thanks for spending time with us on this unique show. Absolutely. Thank you for having me. How exciting is it to get everyone back in the fold, to begin practices? They hit the weight room. Obviously, the regulations of the amount of time they can work evolves year after year. But for you, even though neither one of us is getting any younger, you're far younger than I, it still has to infuse some youth into you to step back into this setting of fall practice. Oh, well, I think absolutely. I think it's what I love about the job is, the game doesn't know how old you are. And for us, a freshman class always brings great energy, enthusiasm. Also takes an opportunity for you as a coach to step back and realize you got to teach it all over again. And, you could have had a great season like as we did last year. It all came together where as far as we dealt with adversity, we got ourselves back to the World Series and competed, and left it on the field. So if I could bottle up that feeling of how we pull together when it matters most, put it in a bottle and sell it, I'd be a millionaire. But then knowing you're starting all over again and being able to get after another season, adding new Bruins to the family and having the older Bruins now who used to look at themselves as the younger underclassmen now lead. I can sit back and it's what makes coming to work every day so enjoyable, because for me, it's about teaching and growing these young females into just powerful leaders. So we're taking a lot of time. We're back. We just started last week. First thing we do is we hit the road and we do some team bonding. We actually got a chance to go sneak away to visit Sue Enquist and have her be involved in our journey in 22-23, and got to see, just a beautiful sunrise and sunset out in San Clemente. And we came together a better team, more bonded, more clear, more committed. So we're excited. We're excited to be able to get into the grind of fall ball. It's interesting. Talent is where it starts, right? And obviously character. But I always wrestle with, as a lifelong broadcaster of all team sports, the concept of chemistry. And this stirred my pot when you talked about that retreat. Chemistry to me in my chair can be overblown, but I also think it can be understated. For you, can you speak to chemistry? Obviously it matters, because this is one of the first efforts you made were to pull them together. How important is chemistry as it combines with talent? Oh, I think it's everything. It's a long season, so I'll lay out, I have the girls lay out balls to be able to represent every game. And said at the time there was 247 days or whatever it was till postseason. And it's a long journey. So, we all want to just get back to postseason and let's go, let's compete and play softball. But in order to build that culture, the ability to grind, the ability to throw punches back when a team throws a punch at you, there's so many lessons to be learned with a new dynamic of a team that it takes time, and I think if you focus on just softball, everyone knows how to play softball in the country. These girls have been playing since they've been 3, 4, 5 years old. And if you add all those years together, they should know how to play softball, but it's not about just softball. It's about how you play when things get hard, when you get challenged, how you represent the game, how you manage success, how you manage failure, the dynamic of starting and possibly coming into a game. There's so many different pieces to how you can really create that team chemistry that is going to allow you to succeed, especially when things get hard. Because it's easy when it's easy, right? If you're playing great softball, that's fun. But we also know the game. And it's not a reflection on the talent, the people, the program. It's just the game. The game is gonna force failures. So it's the team that bounces back
the quickest, that has the ability to respond quickly, be resilient. And the only way you do that is if you pull a group together. I believe the only way we do it is, to be committed to each other at such a really deep level that if it's not me, it's going to be you. To be able to have energy and positive energy, to be able to believe. We have a saying, we call it Bruin Magic. We truly believe that we can win a ball game with one out, but that takes time to build that, because if I don't get to be the superstar, how am I going to believe in my teammate when I selfishly want to be the one? So we create value with every player. What is your role? What do you bring? Everyone matters. And all those things, once again, they take time. So we always start ahead of it. The expectations, the standards, how you're held accountable, and being very clear about how we walk, talk, and act. And that attention to detail to me is always far more important than how many ground balls or how you hit the inside pitch or how you throw a changeup. And once again, I told them, if we played anyone in the country today, I believe we'll compete. But at the end, when things get a little tougher, I'm really not sure what we're going to look like yet. But I'm super excited because we have a lot of time to build that team chemistry. And it starts for us day one. That's our focus.
Kirk Walker and Lisa Fernandez, for a generation, have been key parts, and in two parts, Coach Walker. They both were elevated to associate head coaches alongside in your staff. Could you kind of describe why that was done, and also how much it means to have them as your lieutenants?
Absolutely. First and foremost, any opportunity to be able to reward, my staff. They are a huge part of the success of UCLA softball, and not just in these current years, but in helping build. We've been a part of building this history and tradition, both Lisa and I as players. Kirk was an assistant coach when Lisa and I were players. So, we can say we had our hand on, 5 decades of UCLA softball. So we're all here to be able to take care of the program and create the great experience that we had for the current student athletes. So it's deeper than just a job for us. When we talk about family, being able to really bring in Bruins that we believe can represent, help them grow and be proud when they represent beyond the white lines is what drives us every day. So Lisa and Kirk have had opportunities to go in other places. They get recruited to be able to go, and they could be the head coach of their own program. No doubt. Capable, absolutely. Experienced, absolutely. Could they recruit? Could they manage? Could they succeed? Absolutely. But the loyalty to the program has been a key part to our success. So I am fortunate. I do have two head coaches. Lisa and Kirk, once again, have all the skills and the capabilities to go do it themselves, but yet we stay together as Bruin family, to take care of the program. So I wanted to be able to do all I could to be able to show everybody else, mostly because we know, Lisa and I have been playing together since we were 10 and 11 years old, and here we still are, right? And Kirk has been involved in our lives since the 80s. So it was time. I believe it's a very well-deserved title, which simply means, that we all have the ability to make decisions, which is what's happening in our program. I am ultimately responsible for all, but I have a great deal of faith and trust that if I weren't able to show up on a day, no problem. That, the program's going to be able to go on, and the players feel that, the recruits know it, the parents, everybody, the alumni, everyone knows that we're all here to take care of the program. So there's a great deal of trust within my staff.
So please don't speak to my first comment, but then I want to follow up with a question. That makes you guys so darn dangerous to me with that knowledge. That makes you so darn dangerous and the envy of so many, because there are so many other places. And I would throw myself into this bucket where it's hard to delegate. It's challenging to delegate as you grow things. But there is great power, isn't there, in you having the ability at times, I'm guessing, to be a servant leader. In other words, either Kirk or Lisa says something that you never might have thought of, or they challenge you on something where, you know what, maybe I should rethink it. I'm guessing that makes you so much better as a coach and then as a program.
Oh, I think that is the key to successful leadership. At times there's, your ability to understand followership, to trust, to be open, to listen. And yes, I'll be very honest. We are not perfect. In fact, we're such close family members that, we keep it real. They will tell me straight up. And I appreciate that. I don't want anyone to just yes me and do what I say, because I'll never grow. as a leader, as a person. So leadership is a big part of it, is really gaining the respect, but also listening and being able to follow. And absolutely, there's times where I have 3 different ways to approach our staff meetings, and I think we have learned to be able to grow to this. And I think it's been a very valuable piece of how we work so well together. There's times where I'll come into a meeting, number one, and I'll say, I have a really strong opinion. I just want to hear what your thoughts are. Don't want to have a discussion. So everybody will just add to it, and I'll say thank you, and I'll walk away. And then another time I'll come in and say, number 2 is, that there's a topic, I want to discuss and debate this. And I invite them into the conversation that I'm ready to, I may shoot it down and you may shoot me down, but we're agreeing to come into this conversation knowing we may get after it. And then the third one is I'll come in and be able to say, I don't really have a strong opinion. Let's talk about this and you guys are going to decide. So it allows for us to be able to set the tone or preface what the intent is of the meeting, so we don't get caught up in, I've been on the other side of being an assistant. And when someone asks you, or, on staff, when someone asks your opinion and you say it and then they bite your head off and no, and they almost debate your thoughts. Well, wait a minute, you asked for my opinion and now you're telling me you don't agree with my opinion? Then why are you asking my opinion? So we have evolved as a staff to be able, communication is the key. Being able to gain trust and respect, being able as a leader to be able to define how we're going to communicate about any topic allows for us to jump into that conversation fully invested, trusting that the conversation is going to go in a certain direction. And for me as a leader, I needed to do that. So I wouldn't put them in a position of feeling like I was attacking their thoughts and great ideas. So it's helped us be able to come together and be in a safe space and get stuff done, bottom line.
That's incredible. Last year, watching Savannah Pola do what she did, and I can remember her playing, I believe, for Athletics Mercado at one point during her journey. Where is she and how has she evolved over the summer? I won't have time to ask you about too many of your athletes, but tell me a little bit about Savannah, how she spent her summer and how she has arrived back on campus.
Well, I don't know how many people actually knew, but first of all, Savvy is just a pure hitter. She knows how to swing the stick, higher level. And she was on her way to be an All-American in her freshman year. Just when Aaliyah Jordan went down in February, Savvy Pola stepped in, and she did an amazing job in preseason, and Pac-12 was definitely recognized for that, on her way to have an All-American season. And then she got hurt. She fractured her finger and she was done for the year. And if it was about being perfectly healthy, and then she came and said she wanted to do everything she could to play. So here she was on the stage with 9 fingers, and hitting. And, I'll never forget, we had a moment at the World Series where she was kind of frustrated because, first World Series, pressing, Savvy Pola having a great year, 9 fingers, and just concerned. And I, just pulled her aside and said, I want you to gain experience from this. You're on the stage. You're not 100%. We're not relying on you. Yeah, you could help us. But the experience that you gain in this moment of what you're feeling. Yes, you're down, you have 9 fingers, and you're going to have an opportunity to really check out what this looks like, feels like, and walk away with some experience in your bucket. And she did. She took a deep breath, focused on her routine, and she hit a gapper. And I'll never forget the smile she had on second base. So I say the future is exciting. This summer, she's focused on healing. She got this better. She's healthy. She started taking reps. She was just telling me yesterday that I still am gripping the bat really hard, thinking that I only have 9. But she's going to have a phenomenal career because she's a quiet leader, but she's a very serious worker. And she's got a beautiful smile. She's got it all. She's going to get after it, but I think healthy and with a little experience now, it's going to be an exciting year for Savvy.
And she can drive it, certainly. There is the ability, but it's such an on-base machine, and right behind her is Maya Brady. I ask you the same question about Maya and her evolution.
I think Maya is such a beast, and when you talk about evolution, just a phenomenal athlete. Her background, her family life is so big. And the expectations and the standards, and, she's doing well in NIL. There's so many things off the field. But the one thing that is true about Maya is, her family is her biggest support. And, and with that, she does have high expectations. She does have high standards. She does want to be the one. And she's now more experienced to not just be a part of UCLA, but to really step up and figure out how she's going to leave her mark as Maya Brady. And I love it when athletes do that. They come in, they're respectful, they're part of the program, they just want to help. And then they say, wait a minute, I want to be able to be the one. And the championship is more important than any individual accolade, but she wants to take the responsibility to be able to be that hitter. Very similar to what Inouye-Perez and Inouye-Perez, some of our girls that graduated, you could see them step up and take over. I'm really looking forward to what Maya Brady does. She's more focused. She's more grounded. She kind of has a real clear picture of not just wanting to be it, but getting a little more dialed in on what do I need to do and committing. So, man, I can't wait to see Maya, because she's learned also how to separate some of the distractions and just get after being the best version of Maya Brady. And I'm so glad she's in the four letters having this moment of what she wants to do next.
Folks, by the way, what Coach is talking about, uncles are Kevin Youkilis and Tom Brady, mom an All-American at Fresno State. There, I thought I had some kind of family pressure with the Hall of Fame dad, but it's cool that she's, as Coach said, taking it in a positive direction. Final question for you is a mom question. And, some part of my foot's in baseball, the other foot's in softball, as you well know. Michael, your son was A and then high A this year. I think I'd love to know how his year went as a mom and your perspective and someone who's a leader in the diamond sport world. I did notice he had one AAA at bat in which he homered in a key game, like he got called up. I'm guessing somebody got hurt. You don't have to go too deep on that. I thought that was cool when I was going down a rabbit hole on his stats. But how was his year this year, minor league wise?
First of all, thank you for asking all this. And I am such the proud baseball mom. His goal and dream was to be able to chase after being a major league ball player, and not knowing in his first spring training, not really having an idea, and they bounce the guys around. He's up at the big league club at one point with all the big leaguers, and then, they're bouncing around and you never know where you're going to land. And, he could have been at the complex league, but he got up to low A. And the goal all year was to go to double A, to go to high A. That's what all the guys are striving for, is to continue. And he did well. He did really well. He had a slow start, but he started to get after it with the low A team. And then after the draft, after, there was a lot of movement and injuries and all above, I now get how it works. They'll pull people up. So he had that one AAA experience, and, he called and he said, "Mom, I'm going to AAA." And we're like, wait a minute, the next move is high A. What are you doing? Right. So it was just a funny moment in the family, because I said, I told my husband, I'm like, you got to get out there. And he goes, well, I'm going to wait until they are at home. And I go, do you think he's going to stay there? Like, this may be a one shot. Like, you need to get out there. So I flew my husband out there. I had my daughter and I was right in the middle of stuff. And I said, you got to go. Because like I said, one of us had to stay with my daughter. So I sent him flew him out. He went to go see the game, and he's behind home plate, and he got to film the AAA game-winning home run in his first at bat. I mean, unreal, right? And then they had a big celebration for him, and the manager gave him the scorecard and signed it. First AAA home run. The team celebrated, and boom, congratulations, you're getting demoted back down. But you're getting promoted. You're not going to low A, you're going to high A. So I flew out in this one window that I had to go see him, and it happened to be, Darren, the Field of Dreams game in Iowa. So I got to go. I flew out not even knowing what was happening. And he goes, Mom, are you really coming? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, I need to know because I need to put your name on the list. I mean, it's a big deal. He didn't even know what was really going on. So we go, and I got to go to the Field of Dreams for the first time a minor league team played in the Field of Dreams. Oh my gosh. Made my summer. The best event. And he got to play. He just got on the team. He got to play. He got a hit. He played short. It was like, so he's had an amazing summer. He went over, then he finished out with Cedar Rapids. And I mean, I think probably what I'm most proud of is he really wanted to make a statement stealing bases, and he stole 48. And that was unreal. It's an unreal number for him. So he's beat up, went through a full season finally. Right now he's home and he's sleeping because his team just finished and he just got home. But as a mom, I called my SWA when I was out in one of his games, and I said, find another coach. I'm not coming back. I'm going to be baseball mom, and I'm following him all over the place because this is a dream. And she's like, oh, that's so awesome. Shut up and get back. But I could do that. It was a dream for me to just watch him pursuing it. And he'll play as long as he can. But for right now, we are living the dream. It is so fun.
That's amazing. That's amazing. We loved watching him at PG events. He obviously is in the Twins organization. The manager she's talking about, Toby Gardenhire, Ron Gardenhire's son, that gave him that lineup card. Coach, we really appreciate your time. We love checking in on UCLA. As we said, my producer, Jim, and you and I talking prior to this interview, we may just come visit you if you'll allow us.
Hey, anytime. The Bruin Bubble is open and welcome, and we'd love to have you on campus. Anytime. Come visit.
All right. Great conversation. We come back, more of these conversations. We're going to go from here to Coach Murphy, the University of Alabama. This is Perfect Game Softball on Perfect Game TV. So let's learn about Team 27 on campus at Alabama and chat with Coach Patrick Murphy, who, as we always talk about, fun in the South when you get into the late summer and into the fall with the rain that comes and visits and the heat that might not go away. Murph, thanks for spending time with us on this unique show. We really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure.
For you, having the athletes come back together, Team 27, after another incredible year last year, how much does it mean to see their faces, to get them back? I'm sure some of them played as we've evolved into more games played in the summertime. But over the last couple of weeks with workouts, as you head into full team practices, what has stood out to you? How rewarding has it been as a veteran coach?
Well, every year is different, no matter how many you have coming in that are new or how many you have coming back who are returning. And I think that's probably one of the coolest things about being a intercollegiate athletics coach is every year is something different. And I really think being on a college campus keeps people young. This is my year 27 at Alabama. And, obviously you just said it's Team 27, but some fresh faces, some really, really good returnees. We just had a huge staff meeting in my office here about 5 minutes ago, and everybody that kind of touches our program, strength coach, nutritionist, athletic trainer, all the assistant coaches are in here, and we go through the roster one by one and see how everybody's doing. And it's just been a really, really good team to coach thus far. I think they're working really hard. The strength coach, Michelle Diltz, is very, very happy with what they're doing in the weight room. And, as you know, that's where it all starts. A lot of people talk about mental toughness, but mental toughness starts in the weight room. And I think that's how you build a team at the very, very beginning. And I love being a spring sport because you get the whole fall to get them ready for the spring. And a lot of it has to do with her.
Yeah, it's interesting. You just had me think about the challenge of being a women's soccer coach because you start right away. That's such a great logic that I never think about, though I do see it when I do call soccer. We just last week talked to Stephanie Von Brakel-Prothro on this show, so I want to get your thoughts because we love the conversation. For so many years, she was right there at your side guiding your pitchers. Now she's leading a program in Memphis. How much did that mean to you? It's late in the summer. I definitely want you to talk to Lance McMahon after that, but just brag on Stephanie a bit, please.
Well, there's never a perfect time, with any new job transition. And when Memphis called her, she would text me or call me and say, hey, somebody called me or somebody asked for me to interview. And it was late, but I said, Steph, take all of us at Alabama out of the equation. Don't worry about me. Don't worry about Allie. Don't worry about the program. Don't worry about Alabama. Just, you need to do this for you. And she went up and interviewed, and obviously they offered her the job. And one of the things we've always told our alums is never accept the first offer. And she actually followed that advice, which kudos to her. And I think she really hit it off with both the AD and the SWA at Memphis. Obviously, they were great people, and she figured that out. And she asked for a couple things, and the AD came back and said, you got it. And I think she was really, really pleased with that. That's a big deal for a head coach to really get along with their AD, and for him to see the value that softball might have at Memphis was really cool to her. And, she spent 11 years here. She was a student assistant her 5th year, and then she played for 4. So she was here for quite a time and did a great job with our pitchers. And obviously we're really excited for her and Quentin and Julie and her son. So I know she'll do a good job.
And so in steps Lance with this opportunity, and for 6 years at Illinois did very, very good work. LSU, Mizzou also on his resume. But introduce him as an assistant now, helping you with the pitchers.
Well, the first thing is I was looking for a really good human and just a great guy. And that was probably the first thing that everybody mentioned when I called for references. And Steph told me around noon on a Saturday. And so I think the rest of the night I was on my phone the next day I was on my phone for probably 8 hours. And by the next Saturday, Lance said yes. And, we had some great people. I was really, really happy with where our sport could go in terms of pitching, because that's a big worry of any coach is, who do I hire for pitching? And we were pleased with everybody that we talked with, but Lance just kept coming to the forefront. And another thing that he said to us that really hit home with me was, he developed some really good pitchers at Illinois, and I think the senior there now is probably going to break every school record they have. But he developed her year to year to year, and that impressed me. And he starts with the basics and goes from there. But so far, everybody loves him, and I think he's been a really good addition, and we're excited that he's here.
You had 3 unique athletes join your program. Lauren Essman came from Michigan. At one point, the Michigan Gatorade Player of the Year, a local product there, comes to see you, utility player. Emma Broadfoot from a smaller program, from that Northern Alabama program, and Faith Hensley from Ball State, so from the Midwest. She comes as a graduate player. Ridiculous stats. Her stats were over the moon. Give a brief introduction to 3 of your new transfers.
Well, Emma, we knew a little bit because she'd come to camps at Alabama, and her brother graduated from Alabama, and now he's in med school at UAB. And just a great young lady. Had 2 really good years at North Alabama. Was all tournament at the tournament after the tournament in Colorado that was kind of the NIT of softball. So she played really well there at the end. And she was just, Danville's like 2 hours away from Tuscaloosa. So she's been doing great. Faith was the player of the year of the MAC, and they had some really good players this year in the MAC. That's kind of the conference that reminds me of the Missouri Valley, where you don't want to see one of them in the postseason, like a non-Power 5, and they play some really, really good softball in those 2 leagues. And for her to be the player of the league says a lot about her year. Like you just said, her stats were ridiculous. And she comes in as a grad transfer. And then Lauren's really kind of like the wild card, where I remember her from high school, where she was a left-handed pitcher from Kalamazoo, and played outfield, played first, was kind of a big two-way player. And she's left-handed. And that was a real big bonus for us because I really wanted a left-handed pitcher. And she loved her experience here when she visited. And she's kind of like this big ball of clay where Lance gets to develop her, from step one. And she's been very coachable, just a great young lady. All 3 really, really good additions to our program.
Outstanding. A utility presence there, and someone that Montana can look to as a supporting role on occasion. The evolution of Montana Fouts as an athlete, as a professional in the world of NIL, as someone who's wildly inspirational to young athletes out there. Please bring us the very latest, because I think a lot of folks would want to know how Montana's doing these days.
Well, I don't know. Have you met her in person?
I have, only remotely, Coach, only remotely.
Okay.
In today's world, I haven't. I know my producer Jim has, but only remotely.
Yeah. Just absolutely. First, if anybody out there that was an athlete, you would absolutely love to have her on your team. Just a great teammate, humble, hardworking. She's going to leave it all out there. She always wants the ball. Just all the intangibles are through the roof. And, you know that she's a hell of a good pitcher. But the intangible part of it is what I love about her. And, again, Steph did a hell of a job with her for 4 years, and now she gets an opportunity to work with somebody different. And, it's a win-win for her. She got 4 years of Steph, and now she gets a year with Lance, who brings in different ideas, different things, different drills. And I think she's excited. She's learning new things. And I think for everybody, I think she's going to be, you can't really reinvent yourself after, she's pitched since she was 7 years old. But she's learning some things, and I think it's going to be a really, really good year for her and all our pitchers, for that matter.
Well, that's your lighthouse, right? She's out front. They're all trying to keep pace with her. But, it's funny, as an old minor league pitcher myself, you certainly can't, and watching my father pitch himself to the Hall of Fame, you can't reinvent, but you're always adding, right? You're always learning. You're always gaining depth and gaining knowledge. By the way, does meeting someone remotely like this count as meeting them? I'm not sure these days.
Yes, absolutely.
It's weird, right? So yes, I have, but I'd actually rather have watched her in person and hope to this year.
Yeah,
She's been on our shows multiple times, but my gosh, I would love to meet her in person as well. That's a fair question.
You need to come to Tuscaloosa. Seriously.
That's 2 invites we have. I got to get my producer's like off camera right now. I got to get his budget. We'll come to Tuscaloosa. I know how he feels about coming. I'll talk him into going to UCLA. They invited us there, so we'll go to both places. And but I will say I've heard things about Rhodes Stadium that are next level. I mean, as a coach, it's not that you're spoiled, because I never use that word when I'm, whether you're football or whatever your sport is, hey, I'm spoiled because of what I have, because it takes time to develop what you've developed. But that being said, how wonderful is the atmosphere? Heck, you've got what? You got Jack State, Georgia Tech, Birmingham Southern, Wallace State. You have games between October 12th and November 4th. My guess is Rhodes Stadium will even have great atmospheres in the fall. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. Last year we played Memphis and we had over 1,500 people for a fall ball game on a Sunday afternoon in Tuscaloosa. And I think, part of the reason why we do these games in the fall, number one, to let the freshmen put on a uniform for the first time, get out of the jitters, because it is nervous. But then our fans have withdrawals. Like the last time we played at home was May, and they are just itching to see the new team. And if the weather is good, we could have 2,000 people for that Georgia Tech doubleheader on that Saturday. It's a totally different atmosphere. Every game is an event, Darren, that, I was speaking to an alumni group last night down in Bruton, Alabama, and we sold 3,200 season tickets last year, and we averaged over 3,700 fans a game, which both were NCAA records. And there's 1,000 people on the waiting list to buy a season ticket in the bowl. And I'll be at church or the grocery store, and somebody will come up to me and say, dude, I'm $7.99 on the list. Can you move me up? And I'm like, hell no. No, I can't do that. So it's just you got to see it to believe it, seriously. And I'm from Iowa originally, and I have relatives and cousins and friends come all the time, and they just cannot understand it until you get into a game where there's 4,000 people. Night game especially is so much fun, and it is quite the atmosphere.
That's so amazing. You must have to actually manage your comps. I mean, you actually must have to with the athletes. And I have both my grandmothers are coming, borrow from other athletes. Literally, I think of the Cowboys or the Dodgers. Like, you've got to manage your comps, I'm guessing, yes?
Yes, the game week, that's all I do. Like, if you could see how crappy my desk looks, it's envelope after envelope after envelope that I write, And, of course, dummy me, whenever I speak, I give out my cell phone, I give out my email, and then I always say, hey, if you ever want to come to a game, let me know. I'll leave you tickets at will call. And they do it, which is fine, because I'd rather have butts in the seats, right? But I manage my tickets probably for 2 days before we play every week, which is a good thing.
Yeah, ticket manager as well. Hey, so real quick before I let you go, you and I have never dove in on this, and we don't have to go too deep, but was it Sumner High School? Was that it? Where you were in Iowa, where you were a baseball coach? And you guys were good. I love the story, and again, we don't have to dive too deep, but I love the story how you were maybe felt like a day older than your players, and you were out there on the field basically early on telling some guys to hit the road and come back when they're ready to be more focused. Wonderful memories, I'm guessing, as a part baseball guy, part softball guy myself. I'm guessing wonderful memories looking back on your baby years as a high school baseball coach.
Oh, unbelievable. And it was a small town of about 2,000 people. And the boys that I coached that very first year, they were baseball nuts. Like, they would play wiffle ball on the tennis ball courts because the lights stayed on until midnight, and then the lights turned off at midnight. So their parents knew where they were. They were playing wiffle ball on the tennis courts, and then they'd come home. But to this day, I'm still in touch with all of them. Several of them have come down to football games, to softball games. They've been to the World Series to see us. It's like that was one of the, couple summers, the best summers of my life. spent in Sumner, Iowa. And then I coached at Independence, Iowa as well. But I coached high school baseball in the summer because that's when Iowa high schools play. And then when the school year started, I would go back to either Louisiana and coach softball at Louisiana Lafayette. And then when we were done with softball, I'd drive home and coach baseball for the summer. But I'd do it all again in a heartbeat.
Built who you are now, and we enjoy chatting with who you are, Coach Murph. We appreciate it, and best of luck this fall. Excited, and thanks for the invite. We'll hope to take you up on it, but more than anything, have an incredible fall and a good holiday, and then an amazing season.
Thanks a lot. I really appreciate it.
Coach Pat Murphy, Alabama, what a great story, what a great journey. 13 times that program's been to the World Series. We also want to thank Kelly Inouye-Perez, who joined us on this show as well. Sierra, back with me next week. These two great coaches had to put up with just me, and I appreciate that. We'll see you next time. Perfect Game Softball on Perfect Game TV.